Okay, so it's make sure it goes into the screen. I'm looking at OBS, it's recording, and I see it on the screen. We are good. Okay, so I'm going to be building this basically. So I love anime, so I always try to build things around stuff I find enjoyable. We'll be using, or I'll be using the Gcon API for anime. I've used this before. I actually have another project I've created very similar to this. The API we'll be pulling from is pretty simple. It's just a list of data objects um, that hold all the information we need for the anime. And then it has this pagination object, which basically each page will pull in 25 objects, data, JSON anime objects with information. So page 2 will have another 25, etc. Um, the big things on this project is we'll be using something called an intersection observer. The reason we'll be using that intersection observer is because I want to implement infinite scroll. So as you saw there, it started loading from this one. So they are observing that specific item or element and calling a load every time they see that. So if we go a little slow here, we'll see that this is the one that is, you see it hasn't even loaded yet. But with an intersection observer, you can say, hey, once I see this element, I want this much of that element to be in the view of the screen before we call again. So eventually it should, I guess yeah, so I guess they want the whole thing 100% to be in view before it's another call. Second thing is when you see the load, you'll see a grid pop up behind it, which is really nice effect. And without that effect, it actually looks really cheap. So we will be implementing that grid-like effect as well. Now, the intersection observer doesn't have a built-in way to be done in React. So I did have to look up this video on, I didn't look up the video directly. I looked up references, or basically how do I use web API stuff in React. He is copying over the logic that the intersection observer API kind of describes here and makes it work with React. So I won't go into a long-winded explanation because first of all, I'm still trying to understand it. But second of all, I think it'll be easier to explain this. Now that I've already done this video twice, it'll probably be easier to explain this while building it. But let's go ahead and get the project set up. Okay. So let's go ahead and make, okay, but that'll make everything actually a little bit faster now. Okay. Okay, so first thing we're going to be doing is creating a React project. So let's go to React's website. Let's go to the learning module and creating a React app. And what this is going to do here is basically create a directory for us that's set up already with all the stuff we need for a React application. And this will let us decide we how we set up the project. So the main reason I'm doing a custom one here is because I just wanted to not use TypeScript. Cool, project's done, and let's go inside of it. We can see it's set up a configuration, and if we go to this window we have next to it, let's go ahead and open this again. Yeah, now it should be there. Okay, and then let's jump into it, and let's actually just go run this. Cool. All right, and we can see our project is now active. Okay. Yes, it's set up. Okay. So right away, what I like to do is I'm just going to just delete everything I don't need from the project. Let's go ahead and get that going. Okay. Deleted. We're going to take all this off as well because I don't want it to be messing around with me. I had an issue where at one point I was trying to do something and it just kept not working, and it's because this had something that was messing it up. So we're going to take all this off, and I don't know why I like the background to be white. Let me see here. API views. So we'll just call it API views. Yeah, that works. And then we're going to go ahead and call. One thing I don't think I made clear I've completed this project already. I completed it actually a day ago, um, and I'm redoing it now on video with a little, very little review. So I'm hoping I remember all this. I'll go back to documentation, but it won't be as boring as when I tried to initially do this video and I do an hour and I get one little thing done. So that's kind of the idea behind it. Again, don't want to seem that I'm so perfect, because I find like sometimes in these videos when I watch them, I'm like, man, how did they know how to do this, that, and the other so smoothly? It's because I have done it already, and I made sure not to embarrass myself with a 7-hour video to show to be able to like show something, right? So in my initial last implementation, this is kind of the final setup. At header, the header is going to be, let's get the our example here. The header is going to be like this top portion. It's not going to be functional. It's just going to be purely for view. So we're not going to worry about that right now. We have a slot, and the slot is because when I initially built this, as I've already explained in the first video, we have an observer that tracks. What I'll be doing is tracking the last element in my list. Since I know I get 25 elements every time, we'll grab that 25th element and then load. So here, if we go slowly, we'll see that this element comes soon. Oh, because I already loaded these pages. So we'll go back. And so this would be our 25th element. So I got the idea from AI to do slots, which makes a lot more sense. And as I get more into this, maybe these things will become obvious to me. But what we'll be doing is creating slots, which basically is going to be one card for everything that gets fed in the anime. And if it meets certain requirements, we will display the anime information. If not, we'll display that grid information. So that's why we have slot in list, which is what we'll be starting today. This is where we'll have the this is what we'll call everything. So we'll have logic and other places for stuff, but the list will have the main list and all the logic within it. Okay. So the goal for this video, because I'll be trying doing 10-15, this might go longer. This might be a 30-minute one. I'm not going to time it. My goal is to get the list loading completely, get it to completely load right now. Okay. So let's go ahead and get that started. Let's learn. I always do import. It's actually export here, default, and then we got to do function list. Okay, so we're going to export. This is going to be our main thing. We also right away are going to import use effect, use state from React. So I know we need use effect and use state initially. I can't think of anything else we need right away, so we're just going to leave it like that. And then we're going to go ahead and start with we're going to go ahead and start with this. I know we're going to need this. Basically, this is going to act as our initial list. So we need use state here because every time we update this list, we need in React. And one of the reasons in my previous video, I kind of explained that you have two options when using web APIs because there's no built-in way to do this. The reason is, and I've also found this with iOS projects as well. With these applications, they focus on something on state. And with state, you can't be manipulating stuff in real time. You have to manipulate and then update. It has to be kind of incremental, right? So same thing here. In order to update this list, we have it saved as state initially. This is what we initially have. We do something in a function that expands our list to add more items. And then we update state to then show that new list. That's kind of how that works. And we'll be starting with an empty list because if we go back to our documentation, we can see that data will arrive as a list. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and make a use effect. The reason this is, or the benefit of the use effect here is basically, there we go. What am I doing? I'm missing something here. So since I'm missing it, let's go back real quick to, or actually we're already React here. So let's go to the reference. Let's go to hooks. Hooks actually the top one. Let's go to use effect. And so it looks like it wants it like this. So we have this, we have the arrow function, and then we have this, and that should be good. Yeah. All right. So here is where we'll grab our data. So we're going to be using a fetch. Okay, you see, I was forgetting that. All right, so we need page because we need something to control the page and update that page as things happen. And we need that to be controlled via state. One reason being is because with use effect is a state. It affects state. So when we call something that happens in use effect, it will re-render every time, which is important because if we're going to reload that list, we want it to re-render. Okay. Um, yeah. Now what we need is the link, which I should have had saved here. In order not to pull up the old the version I finished yesterday, right? And maybe I'll see some stuff because that's how I am. I hate seeing stuff. I want to use my mind, build it again. We could have got this from the API here. So if we go back to the API documentation, so here is telling us the payload. So API, let's go here. So here is the initial link, right? And then whenever we're at the docs here, it tells us what we need to call top anime combined with this here. Okay. Now the only reason, so here's top anime, here's where it stops. When I created this app a while ago, there is like this special, I haven't learned it, but basically you can edit the endings for saying certain things, right? So if you want to use the element like page and determine what page it's going to be at, we can call it like this. So the only reason I needed to pull up the docs or the link here is so I could grab that specific version. And I should put some time into learning that, what's it called? That syntax. So I don't have to be looking that up as much. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. We'll do $ brackets to do some string interpolation so we could be updating the page live. Okay. All right. So, because we're gonna receive a response for this. So should this be called? This is so dumb. Like this is just more of a like naming convention thing. Response. I would say this is probably response, and this is gonna be the actual data. So this makes more sense. And I just forgot. I forgot two things. First of all, we can't just write in a wait. I do think we could just write in a wait in here, but we couldn't because it needs to be called async function get data. Take that. And move everything over. Okay, cool. So now we're in an async function, so we have to wait. We'll need to rate this as well. .json. So we're going to just convert it into something readable. JSON. And after that, we'll call get data. We also want to just log this data real quick. And I'm realizing it technically would be data, so that's not, again, not good naming convention. All right, and then this use effect, I'm not happy with it because I'm pretty sure this is set up, no coffee. So disappointing. Set up wrong. Okay, so I wanted that dependency there, and we're actually going to remove it for now because I think basically this list is going to be a dependency list. So it's like, what do I want to fire? What do I want to make fire use effect? Okay, and I want it to be fired anytime page changes, and we'll have it changing. But when you leave it empty, it should only fire once, is what I'm thinking, which will mean that it will show the first 25 items here. So just go ahead and test this out at this point and see what I forgot, because I most likely definitely forgot something. But I do think this should be the basics for what's the word? For receiving the data. So we're just gonna actually just make a div. And we're gonna go ahead and do an h1. Hi. All right, cool. So we have that. Now let's go back to page. Let's go ahead and import list from at app API views list. And let's go ahead and show list off here, which should only really say hi, I think I put there, right? Yeah. So let's go to our app here. Ah, yes, I'm not even going to get into the client stuff here with all of this. That still confuses me a little bit. I understand that there's like, basically right now it's giving me the complaint. All right, so now this is giving me a complaint because of that. All right, we got one issue. The one issue has to be. Okay, cool. I did not. I guess I deleted my return statement at some point, or did I do that somewhere else? I guess we'll just hurry up and make that again. There we go. Okay, so we have it on the top left here. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it says hi right there. I didn't even think, I would say my text size looks good. All right, so we are not receiving the, see if it's even an object. Let's go ahead and rebuild. There we go. So this was a big thing for me when building this. My God, would this have been helpful if I would have known this originally, right? Because initially I was depending on my the print statements from here, right? But in a use effect, they do not. Oh, that's the original. It's actually just quit this. We'll exit this one for now. That's the old project, and I don't want to keep getting confused with it. But apparently, when it's in the use effect and you want to print and get that data and see it, you got to be in the dev tools. I didn't even actually figure like there's probably a reason for that. Not even going to try to explain it right now, but it's very helpful to know that. So we're getting our 25 elements here. Awesome. Let's go back to it. So it wasn't working for the data. I'm wondering why. Why wasn't this working for the data? Oh, yeah, there it goes. So I don't know what the data complaint was earlier. It was I'm sure you guys saw it. Now it is. So cool. All right. So this is what we wanted. So from here, so we want to make sure that this is an array. I'll check that right now. I know that basically I need a guard check there to make sure that this is an array. But yeah, so let me see here. Pre and I also didn't realize. So I've seen some examples. Hold on. Let me just write this because I'm not good at multitasking. Okay. So first thing I was going to say was these parentheses been horrible about it because some arrow functions will show the parentheses, some examples won't. So sometimes when I was like looking through examples, I would see them without. So I was always using without. So I'm gonna try to use parentheses there. I don't know if that's common or not. But basically, I'm setting this previous array, which as you can see, it is an empty array, to I'm setting the values that are here. Let's go ahead and make a copy. Let's set those initial values and then let's add on any new values that we've got to this array. So this is how we're showing prev here, okay? Or this is how I'm adding it. Now what needs to be checked is if the initial value given is an array to begin with or not. And I'm not doing it here. But I do think that this is definitely setting up the information well, to the point where we could probably now call prev dot title English, and it should show that. No, and let me. Because prev is so. Let me see if we get. Yeah, awesome. So it wasn't showing it because it was the list and we weren't mapping to multiple elements. It probably was breaking. But if we grab just the first element and just show that name, it is showing. So we are there. So if we were to probably do this, let's go ahead and do prev dot map anime to we'll go ahead and do a div and we'll give it a key because with the map we need a key, and that key will be an anime dot mal underscore id. Cool. And then what we'll do is show paragraph and do anime dot title English p, and let's go ahead. So it was showing, I don't know if you guys saw that, but it is showing. It's just very light. So we're gonna go ahead and make the text black. Perfect. So here are our 25 elements. Okay, so we are grabbing the data correctly. This is the main thing I want right now. It's just a list of items. adding the photos and that kind of stuff. It's very simple. We can even just show you real quick before we end this video, because this is where I wanted to be for this video. Let's go to anime dot image. So we're gonna go anime images dot. I was just taking the image URL, the normal one. Okay, JPEG images underscore URL. Let's see, was it with an S? No, it's with an not S. Oh yeah, we want to close that, and also it always wants an alt as well. Anime image. And I think what we'll want to do with you always have to close everything in React. So like the syntax is closed, so it's probably giving me some grief because of that. So yeah, here we go. So we have the images loading and the names loading. So perfect. This is exactly where we want to be. Now, what don't we have working? What's going to be in the next video here? So all we've done here is this technically isn't necessary. I could have most likely just um, because there's no state changing in this, right? So I could have probably just set the anime response or use that anime response by itself and then mapped it from there to show this stuff. So we've done a little bit of extra work than was necessary to do what we're doing right now. Just to show off this list, we could have done less work, but we've set a video. So the next video, what we need to get going now is we need to create the observer, and that observer will be what increments the page. Okay. At that point, we will then update our dependencies, or we could even do that now, wouldn't have affected it. But we will then update the dependency. So this use effect will run every time the page increments. Okay. Loading in more stuff and then putting the old values into the new values. Okay. Now I could have shown you this as an example by making a quick button and then incrementing that button, and you would see that the list does grow that way. But I don't think we need to waste the time for that. Let's just go ahead and start moving on making the observer so we can start getting this to increment correctly. Okay. And also all this type of stuff here, this kind of view stuff is going to go into the slot. I was just using this as a way to make sure it works. As a big reminder, I think this is how a lot of people, or at least I was showing myself when I wanted to see if things were working. I would console.log, or I would try to actually use the data. Again, reminder, the console.log is so big in figuring things out, but you need to use the console on the browser. Maybe obvious to some, but it was not obvious to me. Awesome. Thank you for watching. Hopefully there was some help here, and see you in the next video.